head into the Ringerverse to stay up to date with all things superheroes and nerd culture entertainment. Hosted by a rotating lineup of superfans at The Ringer, including Mallory Rubin and Van Lathan, shows will provide instant reactions to blockbuster releases, insightful backstories on canon, and mind-bending theories, as well as fresh takes on the latest news and rumors. Check out The Ringerverse on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Bachelor Party. I'm Juliet Litman. Today, I am joined by Erin Foster, the host of co-host of the world's first podcast and co-founder of Favorite Daughter, and probably know her from her comedy on Instagram and on television and elsewhere. Erin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Juliet. Thank you for having me.
I've been asking you to do this for a very long time. So
wait, you have? I didn't even notice. I didn't know that.
Oh my God, I DM'd you like so many times over the last like 18 months. So you finally responded.
Did I respond to you before and not follow through?
You did. Don't worry. I'm an Instagram creep. I just like DM strangers all the time. Don't worry. It's great. I'm just glad you're here now.
I appreciate being asked to be on the show. Montana, who is sitting nearby, is a big fan of your podcast. And
thanks,
Montana is my like radar for what's cool and youthful.
Cool.
And so when she says something's cool, you know, I pay attention.
That's great. I would say I'm neither cool nor youthful, but I really appreciate that. I'd like to be lumped in with that. So that's great.
Yeah, same. And that's if you've expired and are no longer youthful and cool, then it's important to keep someone youthful and cool around you and then let them make decisions for you so that you can appear cool and youthful.
Is there anything else she's recommending that I should know about?
I mean, there's always things. First of all, she knows about things like any pop culture thing that's happening in the world. She knows before it's even happened.
Okay.
And I'll be like, hey, have you seen this really funny meme about, and she's like, bitch, welcome to 3 years ago.
All right. So she's good to have around.
Yeah, very.
What do you and she think of Clayton as the Bachelor so far?
You know what? We haven't really chatted through Clayton as a Bachelor.
I'm glad you're on right now because
I want to ask your thoughts, but you don't have a microphone, so you can't explain yourself. Oh, this episode sold Montana on him. You know what? I really felt like he grew into the role in this episode.
I totally agree. What stood out to you? What were the moments you're like, okay, I'm in?
Well, first and foremost, you've not asked me my history of love for the Bachelor franchise, so I would like to take it upon myself.
It's funny. I usually start that way, but the conversation just flowed, Erin. So I wanted to go with it.
We're two old friends, and you wanted to dive right in.
Yeah.
I have been, not that anyone asked, have been a Bachelor fan for a very long time. I don't know which year, but like, I think I was in high school. So
what was your first season? Like, what's your earliest Bachelor memory?
Oh God. I want to say, like,
I have a better question.
The tire guy, Firestone guy.
Andrew Firestone. Okay. Nice.
That's really old, right?
Really old. Yeah. I think that's before Jesse Palmer, if I recall correctly.
I remember being deeply invested in the pilot episode. Jake
Pavelka. I mean, all-time lunatic. Yeah.
Major crazy pants. There is a bunch that stood out for me.
It's a long time though. I don't think I've had anyone reference Andrew Firestone as like a contemporary event. It's only been like, remember Andrew Firestone.
I know. I'm dating myself, but I've been a really loyal watcher and fan. Mind you, in a friend circle and family that I have zero support on this because nobody around me gives a shit about The Bachelor, except for now Montana. But I've never had any of my sisters or friends care about it. And so it's really been like a solo journey for me that I've stayed pretty steadfast with. I will say that I fell off the wagon a little bit the last 2 or 3 years when they're jamming so many seasons back to back. I got to be honest, I tapped out a little bit.
It's been hard. I've been exhausted. I mean, not that my life's so hard, but it's too much Bachelor.
Yeah, like I need a break in between, not because I need a break from it, but because I need to want more. You know,
Sure.
I need to like get excited for it to come back. And it just felt too many seasons jammed in. And it felt like they started being a little bit like loose with how they picked someone. You know, it wasn't like the standout, exciting person that everyone died for.
Sure.
And I want to be invested because like their journey was really exciting to us. And so Clayton, you know, I don't think was like some big standout person for everyone.
No, he wasn't.
And I will say, hot take. I don't know if this is popular or not, but I really enjoyed Katie.
Wow, that is a hot take.
Okay.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you why.
Yes, I'd love to know why. I wasn't expecting that. I assumed you skipped Katie's season. So this is great.
Somehow she made it in for me.
Okay.
I wanted to skip her season because it seemed like it was going to be boring, but then somehow I got pulled in. The reason why is because I really don't connect with like pageanty girls.
Yeah.
And the girls on this show, notoriously from the beginning of time, are just not my cup of tea. They have no sense of humor whatsoever, zero sarcasm, zero self-deprecation, just never in on the joke. And they just tend to be these like fembot kind of girls that are not for me. They're just very like hair and makeup, surfacey stuff, awkward giggling, but not really driving the comedy or the sense of humor. And I've not really enjoyed it. Very pageanty. So I've never really like vibed with any of the girls. Katie, for me, was the first girl in the franchise to really have a proper sense of humor.
And
I liked that about her. She felt like she was a real person. She wasn't like so like cutesy. I don't know. I'm always like very triggered by like adult women who like love Disney, for instance.
Disney adults. I was just talking about Disney adults. Also, I know you grew up in Southern California, so that means a lot because Southern Californians are obsessed with Disneyland. So thank you. Yeah, Disney adults are alarming.
Just kind of like grown women that call their father daddy and not in a sexual way and have stuffed animals and are like cutesy, girly. It just doesn't do it for me. And it feels very synonymous with like Bachelor girl vibes.
Sure.
And Katie felt like she had a good sense of humor.
She broke the mold.
She broke their mold. Yeah. She felt like, she still dressed with a lot of sequins. I wasn't like thrilled with the fashion choices, but that can be learned.
Yeah, of course. Know? I thought it was clear when she was wearing an outfit she didn't want to be wearing, which usually had a lot of sequins on it. Like, she was a lot more comfortable in t-shirts and jeans, which is a normal person thing to do. So
I will say I rarely ever see any girl on the show wearing a dress that I would want to wear to a party.
Oh, rarely. Sometimes early on in the season for like a casual date, like when they're doing like a day date. Like this week, someone was wearing like a cute, short, white dress when they went to the Avalon, which gave me like terror flashbacks to previous times I've been there. And I was like, okay, that's like kind of normal. But there was one dress this week that was so cheap looking. I was just like, don't do any more close-ups. It's too much.
I just wonder, like, would you ever go on a date dressed like you're going to the daytime Emmys? No, you would not. So if you wouldn't do that, then why do you want to do that on The Bachelor? Why wouldn't you want to wear like a cool outfit? Why wouldn't you want to wear a cool dress or a cool like pant combo?
Sure,
jeans, not like a skinny jean with those like wooden booty heels. I don't want those. But like dress like you would on a cute date. I don't know. I used to have a go-to date outfit when I was single.
What was it? And
it was like high-waisted black skinny jeans with like a kind of sheer button-up like black or navy blouse, so like a little bra peeking out and like a cute belt and some boots or something.
Yeah, that sounds great. Did you watch Matt James this season?
You know what? I missed that season.
That's for the best. But someone on it, someone named Brie, she dressed really well. And it was very noticeable. There also was a woman named Chelsea who was like, she's literally a runway model. And like, she also dressed really well. And it was very noticeable. Katie's night one dress, that red sequiny dress, was appalling. It looked awful. Didn't
devastating.
fit. It was
also, she's a cute girl and it did not. It did her no favors.
Yeah, it was definitely weird.
The other girl I will say that I vibed with that I didn't necessarily expect to was Hannah Brown. I really liked watching her put guys in their place. And I really liked there's a lot of like Christian girls on this show, very like religious, good Christian girl energy. And that doesn't always vibe with me. And I liked the way that she was like, I'm a Christian girl who is in charge of my own body and can have sex with whoever I want to. And I'm not going to like let a man slut shame me. I was into that kind of unexpected turn.
I loved Hannah's season as well. It was absolutely delight. I remain in love with Tyler Cameron. So, just always and forever. He's the best. So that was a really good season. And I do think one reason I like this Clayton season is I think it's better when they have sex before this fantasy suites because A, it's realistic, and B, it just is like a natural kind of drama. It's much better than like, oh, she was talking about you. Like when there's like a real life, like, consequence of dating and like dating multiple people. It's thrilling. So I can't wait. Like, let's get to it.
Are we aware that they have sex before the fantasy suites?
I don't know if it's before, but I think so. They've been highly teasing this scene of Clayton saying, "I have to tell you, I've been intimate with 3 of you." And
I did see that early on. You're right.
I have to assume that's before fantasy suites, because otherwise it'd be implied. So
yeah, I think that Clayton, there's more than meets the eye. I think that he seemed like he was going to be a pushover and really like basic in his choices. And I think that he's proven himself to be, I don't know, a little bit more mature than I expected him to be. And I really like the way that he doesn't seem to go for the typical girl you'd expect him to go for, the cookie cutter, white girl that's like in his face, that's like you would pair him with out in the world.
Sure.
I like that he has like a real wide array of taste, and like that's how it should be.
I agree with you. I also thought that just like him talking about his body was pretty refreshing. Like that's just not really common to hear about male body insecurity, especially on The Bachelor, and especially from someone who looks like Clayton does. So that was like cool and different, and that definitely made me have more like just like I feel like it was such like a common thing. He made it easy to relate to him in a good way.
I agree. I did laugh a little bit in the vulnerability circle when it was
I hate
like
the vulnerability circle.
I weirdly like it, but I did think it was funny how they were like, okay, what is something that you're not proud of in yourself? And Clayton's like, I guess probably just that like I haven't been as open with people that I've dated and like have hurt them. And you're like, that's not really vulnerable. That's like kind of saying you dissed people, which makes you sound cool. And then the second person's like, oh, mine's kind of the same. Like, I just wish I hadn't hurt so many people. And then the third one's like, I guess mine's kind of the same. It's like I just have my boundaries up. It's like, you guys, clearly that is not going to be the worst shameful thing that you have, that you've like dissed people and had the upper hand in relationships, Like that's like the safest answer. And then they dove deeper, which I appreciated.
Yeah, clearly they cut out Caitlyn asking more questions. I mean, otherwise there's no explanation for how we got to talking about body image and whatnot. So I'd love to know what the journey was to getting there. But, I'll take it. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Also, I haven't mentioned that Rachel Lindsay was like my favorite Bachelorette. And she was just like very cool.
Rachel's awesome.
I really loved how she was the first like proper career woman, because this show has not really highlighted women with real jobs. And you see just a lot of sort of vague job descriptions. And I really appreciated seeing like a badass proper career woman.
I liked this season. A lot of the women's jobs must be real. Like, I feel like one of them is like assistant. She lives in LA. And like one is like, they're like very real jobs. I think another is like trainer, lives in LA. And I was like, yes, this is great. And, one was like social media coordinator. And I was like, yeah, these are actual jobs that people have. Like, there's no reason to like make up a job and then, try to like make it a joke. I agree with you. I'm all about working, and I think it's great. So
yeah, I think like, how long can we suspend belief and pretend like the girl that says she lives in Ohio actually lives in Ohio, and that she's not actually a bartender in Los Angeles trying to be an actress? Like, I can't pretend that these people live in their hometowns. And so I want the show to just kind of like, I don't know, pull up a little bit. Yeah, like let's embrace the truth. If your job is that you are an influencer, then let's write that down in your caption. If your job is that you're here for the wrong reasons because you want to be famous, let's just be really candid and clear about it. We can't pretend that you're a medical sales rep in Iowa.
Absolutely. As you're watching, are there other like changes that you think to yourself they should make?
Yeah, I think that the sprinkling in of like celebrities in the appearances, in the celebrity appearances of the show, I think that they really don't utilize them enough. You don't really get to know the celebrity. They aren't really participating. They're just sort of like, it's sort of like a fluff role,
Sure. Would you do it if you were on? If they were like, Erin, maybe you and your sister Sarah co-host, like to promote your podcast, what kind of date would you want to host? Like, what would be your ideal?
So we were asked this year.
You were?
Yep. To be the Hillary Duff role.
Oh my God.
I don't think this is us. This is me saying like, I got the offer first. It's not like it's like an acting job. I think that they came to us, and I think there was sort of scheduling issues, and they also wanted us to use Sarah's kids for the kid party. And we were like, no, we're not going to use Sarah's kids, but we'll use like, just get actor kids or whatever kids. And maybe let us come up with some other fun ideas to make it funnier or cool or whatever. And I think either they just moved on from us or the schedules didn't work out. And then Hillary was on and not using her own kids. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
so
seriously.
we could have not used our own kids. But even with Hillary, I feel like they didn't use her enough because like she's been on that show Younger for years.
Younger.
Which is all about relationships. And like she's a girl that can really get down with girls about dating, I'm sure, and about relationships and like how to, I don't know, like deal with the rejection or the fear or the anxiety. And like, I feel like use her.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a good point. Also, it's all about their editing choices because like they've decided to stick to like these very like, this classic narratives. Like it's sort of like a back to basics season, but they could have mixed it up a little bit more, made it more fun. Do you remember when Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher were on? It was actually Rachel's season, I believe.
I do remember that.
They got to talk a lot more. Yeah, it was cool. May I ask you a question? I've always been dying to know this. Hilary Duff was clearly promoting How I Met Your Father, which I actually didn't know at the time. And then like a million people pointed it out to me, whatever. Besides the point, I just said obviously, and it wasn't obvious, but never mind. Perhaps you won't or can't answer this, but do they pay you to appear as a guest host? Or is it purely? Not. Wow. I don't think interesting. So, right?
No, they don't pay you. It's really just
that's ridiculous.
There might be some sort of like union minimum or something. They probably have to pay you a union minimum just for appearing on a TV show. You get probably like, I don't know, some $400 check or something. But there's not paid. I do know that they pay the musicians who perform.
Oh, interesting.
Which I mean, that also could use an upgrade, in my opinion.
Of course,
because I die in the moments where like they walk out and it's like, I have a huge surprise for you, Ashley Serranos, and she's like, ah, and you're like, you don't know who that is. You've never heard of that artist at all.
Definitely don't.
I just made up an artist name, by the way. I hope that no musician with that name exists.
The only one that I had really ever heard of, I think, is Chase Rice when he was on Peter's season.
That was iconic.
Yeah, that was iconic. Plus, I watched Survivor, and I remember him from Survivor. So,
I didn't even know he was on Survivor.
Yeah, he was making the rounds. Clearly wanted to be famous. So, which he did it. So I'm happy for him. And also, his song was catchy.
Nothing was better than Victoria realizing that the guy who essentially hooked up with her and dissed her was on the date with her. I mean, there's just was nothing better. That was TV magic.
It was amazing. That was also like the last time the world was normal. Peter's season was right before the pandemic. So it's just like, it'll always have a place in my heart, even though Peter, I think, sucks as an individual.
I'm still incredibly triggered by Peter's mom. Incredibly triggered by her. I just can't handle their relationship. It's really hard to watch.
It's kind of like what you said earlier about adults who call their fathers daddy.
He is the male counterpart to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
I bet he loves Disneyland. He probably would be like, yeah, let's go and have some beers. So
he
probably just wants to hang
Disneyland.
Out. The Disney adult thing is very, very real.
It's like, am I taking us off the rails and you really want to focus on this episode and this season?
Not at all. This winding road is great. It's much better. Also, I like learning about other people's feelings in like relationship to the show because I'm so deep in it. I mentioned this to you earlier, but I've been doing this for almost 10 years, which like I keep mentioning to people because I'm embarrassed by it. And so I'm like, this is great. I'm just happy to learn about other people's obsession.
So to that point, do you watch The Bachelor ironically? And I mean that in like, do you watch it and you go, oh, I'm looking for the best in each of these girls or guys, and I'm looking for it to succeed, and I want to see these people fall in love and have children? Or are you watching it like a car wreck you can't look away from?
At this point, neither. It definitely started as a car wreck. Like, I started watching really in earnest with Ali Fedotowsky's season, actually with Jake Pavelka, when he and Vienna had their like crazy breakup and whatnot. Ali Fedotowsky was on Jake's season, and she was like one of the first career girls. She left The Bachelor to go back to her job at Facebook. And I'm
not remembering this for some reason. I need to put faces to names.
It was in 2009. It was a long time ago.
I for sure was watching that. What was the season that? It's happened, I guess, a couple times. What was the season the guy who picked the wrong girl and switched?
Jason Mesnick.
And he's like still part of the franchise, right? They're still together.
Yeah, him and Molly. Yeah, they're like really lovely. I've met them. I've met all these people too. They're like mostly nice.
I was deeply invested in that journey.
That was amazing. That was before they did the finales live. So like that was all scripted, and they like were able to like sit on it, and like
he also was one of the first like single dads. That was not a thing.
Yes, I know. And they like had a date, him and Melissa, who he chose before choosing Molly, had a date in his house where his son was sleeping upstairs. Like they went to Seattle and his son Ty was like in bed and he was just like asleep.
I respect when it's just a real storyline. It's just a very real thing.
It was great. Also in that date, they like went to the Seattle radio station and he ranked the women like who was the best kisser and they were listening.
Oh God. I always, they do that a lot on the like reunion shows, where an audience member asks.
Yeah.
And I just always think it's so funny you say that. I was just thinking about this last night. I was watching Clayton making out with all these girls, and you can see who's a good and bad kisser, right? Like it's very clear. One of the girls was just like opening and closing her mouth like a fish. And I was like, how have you never learned to kiss? This is crazy. And I was thinking, what a wild ride to be testing out what it's like to make out with like 30 different people at once. And what if the person that you end up with, is like a inferior kisser to another girl? Like, I don't know if I could end up with someone that I knew is not as good of a kisser, because kissing is like so much chemistry. It's such a huge part of kissing.
Yeah, of course. Well, I was just going to say that I think a big part of kissing is not objective, but subjective. Even if it's like they're objectively a worse kisser, but you're more into them and like you want to sleep with them more, then I think it just becomes better, even if they're like not as smooth or they're a little bit more of a fish face. But I think you have to obviously trick yourself into something to make it work. But that's true about all relationships. There's a bit of self-delusion involved.
That's true. Juliet, are you single?
I am, yeah.
You're single. Okay. So you're looking for someone to make out with.
Yeah, I'd love to make out with someone right now.
Would you ever be on The Bachelor?
No, definitely not. I can't. Absolutely not. And also, now that I know you don't get paid to like be on a date, that's a no. No for me.
Well, but let's be clear. You get paid in other ways when you're on The Bachelor. You know what I mean? Like you end up with a lot of endorsement deals.
Sure. I mean, that's why people go on the show now. So it's like this. It's like the central truth of The Bachelor. Who are you? Do you remember who you were like? Oh God, bad kiss. Which one that was?
Honestly, I think it was his one-on-one last night with what's
Susie,
the girl? With
Sarah. Excuse me,
Sarah, the scavenger hunt. Yeah, I was like, that doesn't look like a great kiss.
Scavenger hunt, awful. Immersive Van Gogh, awesome. I was like, okay, take the good with the bad.
I was like, how's no one ever taken me on a date there?
I know,
very cool. Scavenger hunt was super boring to me.
Boring, and also like, why do they have to be in their underwear? Like, there's really like, I'm not getting anything from this. Like.
Vulnerability, Juliet, vulnerability.
Make them wear something stupid. Like, what if they had to wear a dumb hat? Or like, what if they had to wear like a color they're really uncomfortable with? There's other ways to make people uncomfortable other than just being naked. And especially when it's coming off the heels of his body vulnerability.
I know. I found myself looking at his body and being like, I'm looking for the thing that you're insecure about. And you look great.
Also, they just picked the most like unattractive bathing suits, underwear. Like it just wasn't even like hot in any way.
Terrible.
It was just awkward.
And honestly, I think that it's just a weird thing to do. I mean, I remember when I was single, a guy asked me out on a date and he was like, I'm going to surprise you. I can't tell you where we're going. Just bring a bathing suit. I'm going to pick you up and have a bathing suit with you. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing like a surprise bathing suit date. Please tell me where we're going and what we're doing.
Awful. That's honestly awful.
And he was going to take me to like a Russian spa where you like, go in like the hot springs or whatever. And I said, that's a hard no for me. I'm not doing a first date with you in a bathing suit.
First date? I was going to ask what number date it was. Oh my God. First,
I was
absolutely not.
Offended by it. And I was like, for you to want to spring that on me, like not cute. So I don't think that's, I don't think it's the right kind of vulnerability to impose on a date, to get people to open up.
I just can't imagine suggesting that on a first date. Like, what kind of psychopath do you have to be? I'm sorry to whoever this person was. That's crazy.
Don't be sorry. I think it was psychotic behavior. I was very surprised. I wonder if you feel the same, that he chose Sarah for the one-on-one.
Well, I don't know. How much do you like know about The Bachelor? Oh, you asked me how I watched this show. It's like a job. It's the same way that, I don't know, like what's something that you were really into at first, but then just like became a part of like your work?
Working with my sister.
Okay. Well, that's The Bachelor is my sister, and I'm just like,
I'm in so
deep.
So does it take it's just got to take the joy out of it for you? I even thought last night when I was watching it, knowing I was coming on this podcast, I was like, is this going to ruin the joy? Because I'm trying to like clock moments and pay attention to things to talk about. And then you know what? It didn't. I really enjoyed it anyway.
there's like this, so much said about Bachelor Nation. It's a bit of a crazy world. However, at the Ringer and in my life, the people who like really like The Bachelor and like talking about it is like very nice. And the people who like work on this show and cover The Bachelor for the Ringer are like all really lovely. And so I do enjoy like that community aspect of it and like having something we share. The Ringer covers sports and pop culture. We treat it like a sport, and like I love sports, so it's nice to like have that. It's also just nice that people really care about something and like to be a part of their like media diet. So there's like plenty of good things, but I like when you're back to your question, why did he choose Sarah?
Yeah, do you have insight? Because I didn't know that it's chosen for him. Is it fully chosen for him?
I think sometimes it's like I think there's a lot of like negotiating that goes on between the lead and production, where there's sort of like they want certain outcomes, but also they want him to pursue love. So like Colton spilled the beans a few years ago that basically they have you rank like your top 5 like every day, and so they can like gauge who you're into, and so then they like set the dates up for you based on this and that or whatever.
Well, that's kind of good though. I mean, that to me makes it feel like it's a little more legit because they're actually taking into account who he's vibing with and giving those people priority. But I gotta say, like, he picked Sarah. I was seeing her in the house and I was like, who is that again? I couldn't really remember which one she was. And then she had a full face of makeup on in her dress. And I was like, okay, I kind of remember who this girl is. And I was like, I'm not looking forward to their date. I just didn't feel connected to their connection. Did you?
No. I feel like you're hosting. It's because you're a podcast host. You're like,
sorry.
No apologies necessary. It's just it's funny when I notice it with other people. Did I notice that? Yeah, I don't think I keep wanting to call him Colton. I don't think Clayton's had
really
chemistry.
tough.
It's really hard. Also, they kind of look alike. Clayton doesn't have chemistry with anyone, so far as I can tell. Maybe with Teddy, but they've buried her. But she's the one he's like clearly the most attracted to. He also seems pretty into Rachel, but she too has been buried. So I think that
I really
liked
it. The Teddy first impression rose. I really liked him choosing her. She did come across really young, maybe a little too young to end up with, she might not be ready for that. But I liked her as a choice for him. That was kind of the beginning of me being like, oh, this guy's not as straight down the middle as you expect him to be. He's going to take a little bit of a left turn and not go for the like typical pageanty girl in front of him.
Totally. By the way, I'm surprised you like Hannah Brown if you have a problem with the pageanty girl. She's like the pageant girl.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy her as much when she was a contestant. And it was her that like couldn't do a toast, right?
Yeah. She was like, roll Tide.
Yes. Okay. I know Montana has so many things to throw in here. Yes, when she couldn't make a toast, that was hard for me to get on board because she just wasn't coming to the table with enough for me. And of course, she's very pageanty. I think that's what made me like her is that she, for me, kind of helped the stereotype I had in my mind for her when she stood up for herself and didn't let her like good Christian pageant girl thing run the show and show that she actually also is a strong woman. And not that you're not a strong woman, but you know what I mean? She was like, she was more edgy than I expected her to be.
Totally. Also, sometimes you Clayton clearly loves being the Bachelor. Like he's clearly loving the attention, which like what's not to love if you're like, if you want to be dating so many women at one time, like why not just go for it? I feel like with Hannah, she clearly really liked being the Bachelorette as well, but she made it seem like fun, even when she was struggling or whatever, fighting with someone. And there was just like a level of fun to her season that I think will be very, very hard to replicate going forward.
I agree. I think that she was a really great Bachelorette and very likable. And my biggest criticism of Clayton right now is that he is incredibly tolerant of drama. And his picker seems to be very off on who he's giving his energy to. And what's the girl who just got kicked off last night?
Cassidy.
Okay, Cassidy is batshit crazy.
Insane.
And I really just did not enjoy her. And I really didn't enjoy how much validation she kept getting. Because to me, I'm like, Clayton, you seem like a pretty sane, normal guy. This girl is literally riding you on the side of a pool with like a bunch of 12-year-olds nearby and clearly disrespecting the other women in the house very early in the competition and coming across very desperate. And that makes you want to give her a rose?
That's the problem with men. He did it again with Shanae last night when she was making out with him at the Baywatch date. And
you guys, Shanae is really hard for me to watch.
Horrible. She's
really hard.
She's an all-time villain. Shanae is much worse than Cassidy, which is really saying something. In my mind, they're one person. Like, they look so much alike. I can't tell them apart. And they're just the similar vibe. But yeah, they're both totally nuts. But he clearly likes that. Like, he likes someone who really like goes after it and is like flaunts their love. Like, he's a PDA guy, obviously.
Yes, because I was watching him watch Shanae last night sit down and be like, okay, I don't want this to be what I'm talking about, but like, I mean, Elizabeth is just out for me. And and I'm looking at him, looking at her, and I'm thinking, this must be the least attractive conversation any woman could have with you right now. Like, you must be turned off to a degree that you can't explain. Like, you want to send her home. And then he leans in and starts making out with her.
Well,
I was like, what are you doing?
I think to get her to stop talking. I think that's a go-to move. Like, let's just make out. That's like,
and in all honesty, guys don't have to like the person that they want to make out with.
Totally not. It's just like, yeah, I'm attracted to you. Let's do it. And clearly he likes that type of look. There's a lot of women who look that way. Although none of his favorites, I think, are that sort of like blonde profile type of woman on the show.
No, I agree. He has a much more mature taste than I was expecting. And that's why I'm sort of surprised that the Shanae's and the I really keep forgetting her name. Who got kicked out
Cassidy.
Okay, the Shanae's and the Cassidy of the world really surprised me because he just doesn't seem like he would be down with that kind of energy.
Yeah, I agree with you. It must be partially a production thing, unfortunately. Sorry to burst your bubble.
I know, I'm really like naive, I think, when it comes to this show.
It's better. It's way more fun to watch it that way. Don't ask questions, just like be a part of the machine. Just keep it going.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just be like a perfect fan.
Yeah, that's great. There's a Backstreet Boys song called "The Perfect Fan" that can be.
There is?
Yes.
Is it about me?
It's from the Millennium album. It was about their mothers. It's the final track on Millennium. It's a really cheesy song. I'm sure.
Okay, so you're just well versed. You have knowledge on many things other than The Bachelor.
Yes, it's just one area of expertise. I would say the Backstreet Boys are another. What do you think of Clayton's fashion? I've been meaning to discuss this. Callie and I meant to talk about it, and we just forgot. There was so much else to cover. We, on this podcast, have a strong, I did. Callie seems to be changing her mind, and we'll address it. But I am very anti-male hoodie under the blazer. And that is apparently a go-to look for Clayton. And you're in fashion. How does this fashion strike you?
Okay, I would say that he does not have the most offensive fashion in Bachelor Nation, okay, or Bachelor history. I would say that typically the guys on the show do not lean towards my fashion sense for guys, except for like, okay, who was the guy in Hannah Brown's season that's like the country star
Jed,
that was like living a double life? Okay.
Jed, yeah.
Jed, that's like, if they're good, I mean, maybe he's a bad guy, but like, let's just say aesthetically, like that vibe I think is much more appealing. Like a guy in a flannel that's like, I don't know what his shoes were, but the shoes on this show should be burned at the stake. It is crazy, the shoes that these guys wear. I don't know who decided it's good to like wear skinny jeans and roll them up at your heels and then not wear socks. It is the least attractive thing that I've ever witnessed. I wish these guys would wear like some cool sneakers maybe.
I know. I was just going to say, even if they can't show brands, like just get some like basic Vans, like just some plain canvas. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, okay. They can't show brands.
I'm sure they can't. Like there's no way they could possibly pay Nike enough for someone to be wearing like even Dunks or whatever. So
right. Nike's like, I'm good on that.
Yeah,
but really sponsor.
But like, what's wrong with, again, like plain Vans or like even some Stan Smiths where you can't really see the Adidas branding? Like
yeah,
they're easy to obscure or like blur.
But can these guys just wear pants that go all the way to their shoes, please?
And socks.
And please wear a sock. And do not wear a ped sock. That is not for you. Wear a sock, a full sock. You can wear an athletic sock that's black or white, or you can wear a fun sock. Pick one of them.
They can go to Happy Socks beforehand and stock up. You know that store?
No, what is it?
Happy Socks. It has a lot of socks. There's one. I used to live near one in Silver Lake in the Sunset Junction.
Do they sponsor this podcast?
No.
Well, they should.
Free advertisement for Happy Socks.
Yeah. So I think that I would just say that Clayton's fashion didn't offend me. I'm not as offended by the hoodie and the coat combo. I'm much more offended by other things of fashion that happened on the show.
What about that leather jacket this week? That was like shiny and looked like it was like borrowed from the set of like the first Terminator movie or something.
There definitely was like a moment when he was sitting on the couch with someone and he like caught some interesting light and he had that shimmery coat on and it looked like it was like a
he kind of reminded me of Tom Cruise, like Tom Cruise doing a press tour.
Yeah,
but like he's not Tom Cruise.
felt like a Grease revival, you know? It had that energy to it.
It was
But I, again,
tough.
appreciated his sort of lean towards being, I guess, a little edgy. You know, these guys typically have this like Newport Beach bro energy that just doesn't scream fashionable. And I grew up in Malibu, so I'm like very turned off by that like beachy look.
Sure.
Yeah, that aesthetic.
I associate it with San Diego, and I'm also not a fan. Not a fan.
Been to San Diego. It triggered the hell out of me. It felt just like my teenage days with all those guys.
San Diego stinks. So if you grew up in Malibu, how did you feel about this Baywatch date? Which, by the way, what part of the beach do you think that was? I thought it was like near Dockweiler, like down by Marina. Like,
did it say it was Malibu?
Well, Baywatch was supposed to be in Malibu, and the Bachelor Mansion is in Agora Hills, right over Malibu. So,
I mean, can we talk about how much of a dump Bachelor Mansion is?
It looks so bad when I showed the exterior. Have you been there?
Never been there.
If you go inside, it's like been so ruined by production, and like they have lights everywhere, and you know, like cords and whatever. It's like not nice.
It's crazy like, that they don't update it. I mean, the show must make so much money. Like, can't you?
They don't own it.
They don't. Why don't they own it?
It's owned by this guy who's like a contractor, and he has like a really large like barn converted into a house that's also on the property. So I think he like sometimes lives there, and when they're doing production, they use the barn as like the sort of like control room area.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm always wanting an upgrade for them.
I know, it's funny though, because Jesse Palmer was like, yeah, the mansion, I'd never been before. Like they haven't been using it since the very beginning. I think it became permanent like 15 years ago. But yeah, it's like it's time to find a different place. Even like I feel like a really nice house in like Pasadena would be better. Like
I agree.
The Langham or something like that.
Yeah, like this show gets very stuck in the 90s, and I want them to current themselves up a little bit, you know? And you know that they're like, okay, walk into the house and you are blown away by how amazing it is. And they're like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. This purple velvet couch is really doing it for me.
I think there are 2 pools, so that's kind of cool. Especially if like women hate each other, you don't have to be blocked from swimming if you don't want to be near one of the other women in the house or the other men in the house or whatever. So that's nice, I suppose. Also, the kitchen's really big. I once went to a night one, and like there's so many people there for night one, like tons of production, and then a lot of randos like me just watching. And I was standing in the kitchen, and Ashley I on her first season, which was Chris Soules, like I think I was like wearing black. And so she thought that I worked for the show. So I was like standing in the kitchen. She like came up to me and she like asked for like food. And I feel like I could like help her like find someone to like powder her face. And I was like, I don't work here. It was really funny.
Is Ashley I the girl who cried a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
there was like 3 Ashleys that season, right?
Yes, exactly. She semi-recently relocated to Rhode Island with her husband, Jared, and they're about to have a child.
Yeah, I feel like she really worked it out because I feel like I remember Jared being a great guy.
Jared is a great guy. Not to brag, but Jared once came to my Christmas party, and he is really nice.
Whoa! I mean, don't say not to brag because it's a full brag and it's a cool.
Thanks.
One.
Yeah, I hope it impressed you. Did you watch Baywatch as a child? Because I did.
I mean, I don't know. I guess I did, but it's not really like connected with my childhood in any way.
Did you watch Charles in Charge?
I watched a lot of Charles in Charge
because Nicole Eggert was also on Charles in Charge.
Yeah, she was iconic. I mean, she was just
absolutely
the hottest, cutest, everything.
I love Charles in Charge. So
yeah, I love Charles in Charge too. The Baywatch thing, again, I felt like they just didn't utilize it as the best way that they could. I mean, I don't know what the goal of it was, to see everyone in like a red bathing suit. Everyone looked amazing.
I know, they really did. Also, that's like not a flattering red bathing suit. So shout out to all of them.
I agree. And they all looked so good.
Yeah.
I thought it was boring. It just didn't really give us anything. It didn't
also
give any insight.
No one went in the water. Just another time, The Bachelor on the beach, no one touching the water. And like just like in paradise. But it was a really cold, like gray day. Like it looked like it was pretty bad beach weather.
They were freezing. So, I mean, when they were looking at him up in the lifeguard thing with the other, they were like, lips were purple and they were like shivering.
It looked horrible. I just wanted more Gabby. Gabby seems so wacky that I don't understand why we didn't get to see more of her.
I'm so into Gabby's like sort of like lightly on pills energy. Yeah. You know, she's kind of like, okay, thanks. And I kind of really like it. And she feels funny. And again, I always am into girls that kind kind of have just an unexpected personality.
Yeah.
And she had that. And I liked that he commented on how that she's quirky and that he was into that. I like that he was into her sense of humor.
Yeah, I agree. Also, she's an ICU nurse, so I hope this was like a nice break from life for her. Must have been a rough 18 months leading up to it, so that's great. Also, just a reminder, she dated Dean and Blake Horstman.
Oh.
I know.
I didn't know that. Wait,
Yeah.
which Blake is that?
Blake, the one who got like in trouble or whatever with in Bachelor in Paradise, the one from Becca Kufrin's season. She didn't pick him. And do you watch Love is Blind by any chance on Netflix?
I did watch Love is Blind, but wasn't there only one season?
Yeah, it's coming back. But Blake is dating someone from Love is Blind now.
I think the girl. Wait, what's
Janina.
the girl's name?
Yeah, Janina, the crazy one.
Oh, that girl. She got married to that guy, the redheaded guy.
Yeah, and then
Right?
I think they didn't get married. They had like a really dramatic, like he ran away at the altar. But anyway, Gabby knows some other Bachelor people. So
okay, yeah, it's definitely a small world. Last night was very hard to watch. I did not expect when I saw the like introduction to everyone. I saw Elizabeth's introduction in the first episode. I was like, thought I wouldn't be into her, and
she's great.
And honestly, I've been like truly shocked at how much patience and maturity she has for
absolutely
this Shanae situation. And I was so confused why, and I've been confused by this many times when there's like a villain in the house, why she didn't say to him, okay, Clayton, here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk out there and we're going to ask all 9 girls on this date if I've ever bullied anyone or if I've ever come for anyone or if I've been mean to Shanae. Because if this is true, then everyone else must have noticed it. Let's ask everybody in the house. Go over there and be like, Shanae just said that I'm bullying her. Can you please clarify for Clayton what's happening? And then they would all look at him and be like, this bitch is crazy. And it would clarify it for him. I don't understand why they don't do it.
I don't know either. It's probably because they think there are rules. Like when Jesse said to Clayton at the beginning of the episode, there's no rules, Clayton. You can do whatever you want. Like I think they all think because they've watched the show, there's like some rules that they have to like work within, but they don't even ask. So then probably not
I think they're
even true.
also all really scared to spotlight themselves in front of Clayton in any way, in front of any Bachelor in any way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they're always kind of little whispers on the side and fighting. And then as soon as Clayton comes in, everyone's like all smiles and all good. And what a great night. And they're like, yeah, what a great night. And one of them should be like, hey, just want to pipe in here for a second. Elizabeth is a completely normal person and Shanae is crazy. And you should be aware of that. And nobody does it.
I think because I think it'll get them sent home right away. They're like, if I do this, I'm giving up my time with Clayton for him to get to know me. Because, Elizabeth said this. Like, she's only talked to him 3 times. And she's had to talk to about Shanae and defend herself all those times. So is she going to lose more to proving herself right? But I think if I were Elizabeth at this point, I'd be like, clearly this is not going to work out. We've spent too much time talking about Shanae. I just need to make myself look good on TV. So, but she also just seems like fun. Like anyone who's going to cook garlic butter shrimp for me, I'd like to keep around. That sounds fantastic.
Well, let's dive into Shrimpgate.
Oh my God. 8 shrimp. Is that too many?
Okay, so I'm not a big shrimp person, so I can't fully speak to how many you're supposed to eat in one setting. But I am a person who has eaten a meal that is limited when there's a group around. And it is common knowledge that you take sort of the least amount that you can get away with taking because several other people need to eat it.
Absolutely. However, should Elizabeth have made more shrimp? Like, why did she only make like 15 shrimp? Because clearly they're not having carbs, right? There's no rice, there's no noodles. Maybe they're having like a cabbage slaw on the side, but I'm positive there's nary a carb to be found in this house. So,
and Shanae went and made more shrimp, so there clearly was more shrimp to make.
There was more. So maybe it's Elizabeth's fault. She should have been thinking ahead. How many people are here? How much do I need to
Wow,
supply?
not cool of you to turn on Elizabeth like this. I don't know.
I want to be impartial, Like I don't
Okay.
like Shanae, but I think we need to be realistic about Elizabeth's shortcomings. And she is probably not set out to be a caterer. And that's fine. This is not about top catering.
Okay, I can accept that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to...
She just seems to be a very gracious human being.
She really does. She seems delightful.
Far more gracious than I would be able to be in that situation.
It's also pretty shocking that the kitchen actually works. Like, it's also even more shocking that they're responsible for their own meals. Like, that's crazy. Isn't there craft services for them? Like, what the fuck?
I am always curious. You'll know this because I don't know spoilers on the show. So when it comes to their outfits and their hair and makeup, are they responsible for it themselves or is there like a wardrobe room?
No, they're fully responsible.
What? But how do they fit 19 dresses and outfits in these little suitcases they're trotting around?
I think they have way more than you see, like in terms of suitcases. And yeah, like they have to do it themselves. The lead gets their own hair and makeup. So like Clayton's not doing it himself, and
they're never doing their own hair. I mean, they're never getting it professionally done.
No, never.
That's actually scary. How much hair and makeup they are on that show and how good they are.
I could never do that. Like I can barely do anything with my hair. I could like maybe flatten iron it. I can't even do like a curling iron. I just like don't know how they do it. But a lot of them will like go to stores and like try to like make a deal to be like, if I like tag you, will you give this to me for free? Or they'll like return it after. I mean, and plus I think they share clothes for that reason, because people are just like, cool, I'll wear that.
Right.
I mean, also I can barely go on a weekend trip without like overpacking sweats and leggings. So like if I had to do everything I might be wearing and could be seen on camera, like it would be impossible.
You mean it would stress you out if somebody said, please pack a bag filled with everything you'd like to see your future husband see you wearing?
Yeah. It would be so hard. Also, one season there was a woman who was like an esthetician, and so she made it pretty far, and she would do people's like eyebrows and hair and stuff.
Oh.
And I think they were like, her name was Elise. They were really happy to have her around. I think that was Colton season. That
was nice.
Do you have any more Bachelor thoughts? Because otherwise, I'd like to ask you about some of your other endeavors. I mean, obviously,
you want to talk about me instead of The Bachelor?
Well, just I don't know. I'm a fan. I follow your content, and so I don't know. Like I told you before we started taping, I just felt it was really important to disclose that I'm a huge fan of your nephew Otto and your niece Junie, and Sarah's kids too. But Otto's obviously a star. I think you guys can probably acknowledge that.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have like created a phenomenon on the internet?
I think it feels really good. Listen, I think like everybody thinks that their family members' kids are cute, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm able to confirm that mine are with the public, it is obviously great. And I didn't mean to make Otto happen. Like, you know, it was totally unintentional. My little sister Jordan, she lives in New York. Her husband's from England, and they had Otto, and he just like started talking with an English accent because he mimicked his dad, and he watched a lot of Peppa, and he was so cute. And
Is Peppa English?
Peppa's English, yeah.
Oh my God, I never knew that. Wow.
She has an English accent, and so when the pandemic happened, they came to Los Angeles because being in LA with a 2-year-old in a pandemic is not fun. They came here, and she would like drop him off at my house. And, you know, he was like 2 years old, and he was just speaking in full sentences with an English accent. And I thought it was so funny and so cute. And he was so precocious and like advanced. And then I don't know, all these people just thought they became so invested. And then
I'm invested.
He really gave me what I was looking for, and he was just such a ham. It really worked out. But now he's a little older. He's turning 4 this month. Well, sorry, February. And he's more aware, you know, so it kind of the filming him secretly doesn't really work anymore.
I see. I am so curious to see what happens with his accent as a completely just, you know, impartial fan out here. I'm just really wondering, will he stay English sounding? What do you guys think?
Well, I gotta give it to you real, okay?
Okay.
The accent is going away.
Oh my God.
I know. I know.
That's very, very, I don't want to say it's troubling. I'm sure he'll be cute no matter what, but it's a big development. Thank you for being honest. This is,
I know.
Really means a lot
I didn't want
to
to drop this bomb on you, but it is going away because they spent a lot of time in England in the pandemic and with his grandparents a lot. And now he's been in New York and he's in school, and it's been really hard for it to stick. And, but when I say to my sister, to Jordan, like, oh no, his accent's going away and people are gonna be so upset. And she's like, it hurts my feelings that he's like only cute with the accent, you know? Isn't he cute without an accent? And I was like, I hear you. Yes, of course. But the accent really adds that extra layer. So unfortunately, it is kind of fading away, but maybe we can jolt it back in.
I think he'll be cute no matter what. So
he's definitely going to be cute no matter what.
I'm not trying to say like I'll lose interest. I won't. Also, this is like pretty creepy conversation about an almost 4-year-old, but thanks for indulging in it anyway.
Anytime.
Also, you recently started, semi-recently, would you say it's recent that you started Favorite Daughter clothing line with your sisters?
Yeah, we started it a year ago. So,
Wow.
well, a little over a year ago now, but yeah, pretty new.
How did it come together? I'm just generally curious, like I don't know the story.
The way it came together. So, do you know this brand Suburban Riot? You ever heard of them?
Mhm.
So, they made that sweatshirt that said Kale instead of Yale that like Beyonce wore in a music video. And I thought it was really funny and I bought it. And I started kind of wearing some of their sweatshirts and they DM'd me one time and they're like, oh, do you ever want to do a collaboration? And I said, sure. And I said, Sarah, you should do this with me. And so we kind of just designed a bunch of different t-shirts and sweatshirts for them. And one of the t-shirts we designed with them, we decided to have it say Favorite Daughter on it. And I said it was Sarah's idea. And I was like, oh, so it's kind of a dumb idea. Like, it's kind of cutesy. And like, I was trying to go more like sarcastic. I had like shirts that say Dying Alone on it. And she wanted Favorite Daughter. And it ended up like just going crazy. It sold so much and sold out so quickly over and over again. And it outsold the Kale sweatshirt.
Wow.
And we were like, shit, maybe we're unintentionally kind of onto something here. And so we had this opportunity. This company Centric Brands came to us and said, we want to start a clothing brand with you called Favorite Daughter. And we thought it was such a great opportunity. And so we were really lucky and we started it together.
That's awesome. Like of all the things that you do, which do you enjoy the most?
It's really
other
hard
than watching television, obviously.
Yeah, of course. If I could get paid to watch The Bachelor like you, that would obviously be my favorite job. It's really hard to say. My real trade is being a comedy writer, a TV writer, and that was my main and only source of income and job for the last 10 years. And there's something so rewarding about it, but it's also so hard
and so competitive.
It's so competitive. It's really hard. And the busier you get in life, the harder it is to write. Because to write, you really need like uninterrupted space around you in your brain and your mind. You can't like fit it in between other things. You really need like a lot of space. And I don't have as much of that. So that part of my life and my career has been a lot harder for me to maintain because the stakes are so high. You can't like phone it in ever and have to be like fully alert every single time and really on top of it. And Favorite Daughter has been really fun for me because in some ways the stakes are much lower because it's about clothes. It's not like an idea from my mind that I have to fully realize. I have all these people in place to help. When I'm writing, of course you have producers and people helping you, but the only person who can write is you. You have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And with Favorite Daughter, you have a whole team of people around you that are really professionals in that area and have done it before. And so you get a lot of support. And, at the end of the day, if like a zipper looks like this or like that, or a sleeve has a puff or a tuck or whatever, it's not going to be sort of life and death like it is if you write a script and, someone doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So there's something about the like instant gratification I get from Favorite Daughter that's just I've been really surprised at how naturally it's come to me and how much I really love the process because I didn't know how I would feel like, designing clothes and running a brand like that.
That's awesome. It's also cool and just sort of like happens based on something that else was successful and it wasn't necessarily like, here's my plan, but you're sort of like find your way.
Yeah, it really wasn't a part of the plan. And then Sarah and I, not to be competitive with you, but we have a podcast and
everyone listen to it. It's called The World's First Podcast.
Yes, please listen to it, you guys. I mean, don't not listen to the one you're listening to now to go listen to ours, but listen to it in addition.
I don't think they're like competitive pods. So I think you probably can make space for both. And if you only have time for one, well, that's your choice.
No, the podcast has been really, I don't know, like it's been very satisfying. My favorite thing to do in my life is to connect with other women. Mostly women I don't know. The women I know, I've connected with them enough. I want to connect with women I don't know about like shared struggles or anxieties or challenges or fears. And that is my favorite thing to do. And that's what I always did with my writing. And now I get to do it in a podcast. And it's just been really amazing how much it's resonated with other women because that's what the goal is.
What's the top topic where you're like, wow, I thought only I would care about this, but so many people care about it too? Like what you've been most surprised by in the feedback? And by the way, I genuinely am just curious about your experience. This is like just answering questions for me. So thank you.
Drinking.
Oh, cool.
Drinking is the number one, I think. Well, drinking and Judaism. These are my surprising topics that people have been really into.
I'm Jewish. That tracks for me.
Right? It tracks.
Yeah.
So we had an episode with Rabbi Steve Leder, who is the head rabbi at Wilshire Boulevard Temple, and talked to him about what it means to be Jewish and life and death and converting, because I converted to be Jewish. And that was a hugely successful episode for us, which I was fascinated by, because if you've never converted to Judaism or aren't Jewish, you might not care about it. Or if you are Jewish, you're kind of like, I know everything I need to know. And it was a really, really powerful episode for a lot of people. And we also did a second episode with Rabbi Shapiro, who converted me and ran the conversion process. And that was fascinating too, that people loved that, because it's just interesting hearing about what a religion's all about and what it means to convert, and like how you modernize a religion, and that was interesting. And then we recently did this episode about drinking and not drinking. And that was very popular.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Final question, and then I'll let you go. What other reality TV shows do you watch?
Great question.
If any.
Okay. My husband and I watched Selling Sunset.
Great show.
Great show. And yes,
I hate Christine.
I was just gonna say Christine is a wild villain.
Oh my God. But the end of the season was amazing. Seeing Heather walk off and be like, not now, not in front of the cameras. I was like, oh, this is real. I was like, that's nice. Yeah. They hate each other.
Very real.
I was like, cool. They really hate each other. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, that show really has kicked it into gear for us. And strangely enough, my husband got me into Vanderpump Rules and Shaws of Sunset.
Okay.
He has like a secret reality loving side to him.
So he loves a Bravo celebrity.
Yeah, but he will not watch. He will not get into The Bachelor with me. It's a hard no for him.
Okay. Vanderpump. Did you go back to the beginning, or you just jump in from current?
No, I started day one.
Oh my God. I first of all, I've interviewed Stassi in person a few times.
Whoa.
And it was way back in the day. Like, she was still dating Patrick, if that means anything to you.
Oh, it does.
And it was a different era, way before Bo.
Oh, Patrick was so annoying, and we didn't even really get to know him that well, but just his presence was annoying.
He stunk, yeah. How does Vanderpump make you feel about your hometown of Los Angeles? Because I really struggle with both the depiction of Los Angeles in both Selling Sunset and Vanderpump Rules. Though, like, and Vanderpump has just been like a wild, wild ride. I mean, it's really like
it's funny you say that, because Simon and I were watching Selling Sunset recently, and he was like, you realize that this is what people think everyone in LA is like.
Yeah.
And
it's so upsetting.
It's so upsetting. But listen, it's not wrong. There are a lot of people in LA like this. That is the cold, hard truth.
I know.
That it is not strange to see a girl that looks like Christine when you go to get your smoothie down the street. It is not strange. And it is upsetting. It's a big part of what makes me not like being in LA. It's a big part of what makes me want to like get up and move to New York. I mean, I think that it is one of those things where you have like, I'm shocked by it and bothered by it. And I hate the like fake, entitled, spoiled brat girl energy that we portray in LA. This like materialistic Barbie doll thing is not something that I want to participate in at all. But then as time goes on, you just start to get more and more used to it. And it stops being weird.
Yeah. I know. You kind of like get like inoculated. You're like, oh, okay. Vanderpump's even more like real in some ways. You're like, yeah, people come here to become, well, I say I'm currently in New York, but people move to LA to like be a bartender to like, be a model while being a bartender.
Vanderpump was more real. I mean, Vanderpump was like about struggling actors and waiters and bartenders who were like hustling and having roommates and trying to figure it out and like struggling to make it. And they still talk about that. They still talk about how much money it's going to cost to, get the house that they want. And like, to me, that's a more enjoyable, like, you can connect with the people that, like, as they come up in the world. I think the show, it always loses a little bit of its luster when everyone on the show is now famous in their own right. So their lives are really different. So they're really like aware of the camera and aware of how they position things. And
they have more money.
Yeah. early on they don't have any idea, so they're just really being themselves, and so it's likable. But
the only thing the early seasons of Vanderpump wasn't honest about was the amount of drug use, which had to have been copious. But
oh yeah,
but they never go there. Obviously they can't. But Erin, thank you so much for doing this. I hope you enjoyed it, because I did. It was a true delight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. If you did enjoy this, check out Erin's podcast with her sister Sarah, the world's first podcast. And Callie and I will be back on Monday night, as always. Thank you to Erika Cervantes for producing this episode. And thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.